This is just a sundowner, and I just want to share something briefly about death. That people who die, they don't really cease to exist. Death does not cause someone to cease to be conscious. When people die, in other words, they don't cease to be conscious at any given time. All that happens is that they just transition to another form with their consciousness 100%. It's only that the body is separated from the soul and the spirit. In the beginning, when God created man, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, he got the dust, and then he, from the dust, he made man, and then he put his breath in him, and man became a living soul after God put his breath in man. And the soul and the spirit are intertwined. You cannot separate the soul and the spirit. Now, the spirit is that part that came from God directly. And the soul is also the will, the mind, and also the human emotions. And as you continue to live here on earth, you continue to accumulate memory. People, as they continue to live on earth, they continue to accumulate memory. If you live for 50 years, 70 years, you accumulate the memory to the extent that you lived here on earth. In Luke chapter 16, we see a story of a man, of two men, the rich man and Lazarus. And the rich man lived in luxury, and Lazarus was a poor man. And he used to sit at the gate of the rich man, and where he ate from the leftovers from the rich man's dining table. And dogs would come and lick his wounds. So he was a poor man, living in very deplorable condition. And one day came, the rich man died, and also Lazarus died. We are not told whether they died at the same time, but a time came and they died. The Bible is very clear about their destination. The rich man died, that is what the Bible says, and he was buried. But the death of Lazarus, the Bible is not talking about his burial, but what the Bible mentions is what happened after he died. Immediately, he was taken by the angels on the bosom of Abraham. And the meaning of the bosom is a place of comfort. If I bring you just over my bosom and push you to lean on my chest, I'm just comforting you. It's a place of comfort after living a very poor life, deplorable life, and very hard conditions here on earth. And the rich man, the Bible says, he was buried. And we see their later lives, and meaning their existence did not cease after death. Lazarus, he died, and he was taken to the bosom of Abraham by the angels. And the rich man also died and was buried. But later, while existing in the other realm, there are a number of things that are very clear and being revealed by this particular account, that they did not lose their consciousness, both Lazarus and the rich man, as well as Abraham, because Abraham had also died and ascended to heaven. And while Lazarus was sitting at the bosom of Abraham, the rich man, while he was suffering in the hell's fire, he lifted up his head and he saw Lazarus across yonder, and on the bosom of Abraham in a place of comfort. And there he shouted and remembered Abraham as well as Lazarus. And he said, Father Abraham, I'm suffering here. Send Lazarus to come over so that he can just bring a drop of water and drop it on my tongue, because here this heat is too much. And he was told it's not possible for Lazarus to cross over to that side because there is a divide and no one can cross over, meaning there was a distinction between where the rich man went and where Lazarus had gone to the place of comfort and where Abraham was. And then he made the next request, and he said, please, send Lazarus back home. I have 5 of my brothers, and whom I knew that by the time I left the earth, they had not converted into Christianity. And so he was taught, down there they have Moses, and they also have the law. And Moses is not literally Moses as a person, it may speak of the law of Moses and also the prophets. They have the writings and the preachers there, that if they don't listen to these people, there is no way, even if a man rose from the dead, they will listen to him. Because the rich man had suggested to Abraham that if someone happens to rise from the dead, peradventure perhaps, they will listen to this person who rose from the dead. And that was the request that he was making. And he was told, they have these preachers, they have the law, they have the Moses, they have the preachers down there, that if you don't listen to these people, there is no way, even if someone else rose from the dead, they will not listen to them. Now, what are we learning from this story? Number one, that the way you live here on earth determines your afterlife. So you may live in luxury, you may be rich, you may be very wealthy, and people may come for your burial and bury you in a very respectable way and honorable way, and which is true and which is okay. But that does not affect the destination that you go after you die, because the place you go after death, it is determined by the choices you made while alive. So no one can change the destination through prayer. You can't alter the destination that people choose for themselves through prayer. That prayer only helps as long as when you are alive, or when you are still alive. So you cannot pray for God to change the decision that you made while living here on earth after you are dead. It is not possible to alter the destination, the decision that you made for yourself after you die. And number two, that there are two destinations. There is a place of comfort, and there is also another place of suffering. We see that very clearly. And number three, that death does not cause anyone to lose consciousness, because these people, the rich man, could remember Lazarus and also Abraham. He could also remember that he had his 5 brothers down here on earth, and even remembering their spiritual status and condition, requesting Lazarus to be sent back in the earth to go and talk to them, and so that they don't end up coming where he was. And so people who die, they don't lose consciousness. So death does not make you lose consciousness. And number 4, you cannot alter your destination after you've gone. You cannot change your spiritual destiny after you are gone. After you leave your body, you cannot alter your destination. In the book of Revelation, we have the source and the spirits of the martyrs who had died. And they were reminding God, for how long will you keep on? Will you keep on waiting before you avenge for our blood? Meaning, these martyrs, they had long died, and they were in the heavenly altar, because in heaven there is an altar. An altar speaks of sacrifice and martyrdom. And as they were there, they were still remembering that their blood was shed because of their faith. And they were reminding God to avenge for their blood according to the scriptures. And they were told to wait for a while until the numbers of those who are supposed to die in the same manner is complete or is completed. And they were told to hold for us for some time, meaning these people had not lost their consciousness. They were remembering their experiences in the earth. Another account is when Saul went to a wizard, to a witch doctor. This lady had the power to summon dead spirits. And this particular day, I believe it was within the permissible will of God. And Saul, because of the suffering he was going through as a king, because he had forsaken God, he went to this witch who was a woman. And you know, Saul had killed many witches in the land that particular time. So he just camouflaged. He camouflaged and he pretended not to be Saul. And immediately the spirit of Samuel came over. The witch feared, because this man was a man of God. And she was afraid even that Saul had camouflaged or pretended not to be Saul, because she was afraid to die. But what we see here, that Samuel rebuked Saul and reminded him of the things that was happening even in the earth. We see Samuel was very cognitive of the things that were happening in the earth. So the dead don't die. They only transition in another form. When people die, they don't lose the consciousness of themselves.